truly sunny day. Yay! So before I sit down and knit and give you the update on the Lumé sweater, I thought I would go for a really good walk at Skeeter Rock. So this is a hike / walk. I have my muck boots on because it is gonna be messy. And if you didn't know, we're on day 11. So looking forward to catching up with you after my walk. So this is Ireland for you. In the 5 minutes that it took me to drive to the car park, you should see the clouds that have rolled in. Let me see if I can just turn the camera around. So needless to say, my walk might be a bit shorter than I planned. Just got back from my walk. I only did about 50 minutes because it just started to rain. So I got a good 50-minute hoof it kind of walk. In other words, I was probably doing a 3.5-3 mile pace and there were hills. So I am so thrilled that I was able to move because now I'm looking forward to an afternoon of crafting. I'll check in with you in a bit. Back from my walk. Oh, the view was stunning. So that was my first time going to Skeeter Rock in the fourth, it's called the Fourth Mountain Pennylands. It's a big regional park. It is what I gather is a reforestation project. It is a hectares and hectares and hectares of a big hill / mountain, depending on your perspective, where some of the trees are very, very mature, others have been recently cut down, and others have been recently planted. So it's obviously a sustainable forest that they are using, and it was just the loveliest of walks. Have to say, I made it home within seconds of a deluge. So, and that's what happens on an island. The weather blows in and the weather blows out. So you might look at the forecast, it might say, no chance of rain today, but you better bring an umbrella or your galoshes or rain gear because you're gonna get rained on. So needless to say, beautiful, beautiful walk. Loved it. Was out there for a good hour, as you know. I think I'm repeating myself, so I won't go on to it. So let's get into cast on number 11. But before we do that, what am I wearing? And how did yesterday's project go? So I am wearing the Mabel sweater by Coco Knits. Now this was a sweater motivated by my friend June, because this is a contiguous shoulder cast on, and it was my first contiguous shoulder. I have to say, love, love, love it. I don't have a picture of the pattern, I'm sorry, it came in a book. It was the Coco Knits workshop, I had a sweater workshop book. So I bought the book and the workbook that goes along with the book. And the pattern, the Mabel sweater, is in there. It might be on Ravelry, I probably should check. But this is done in a worsted weight, single ply yarn from Madeline Tosh in the color English Rose, alternating skeins throughout because it was hand dyed at the time. And it is pilling like crazy, but because of the tighter weave of this knit, I have never actually gleaned it, so it's pilling. Apparently that pilling calms down quite a bit. And the sun is just beaming in here right now. I've got my shades drawn, but very, very challenging weather. Great sweater, nice close fit, works well underneath vests and coats, so it's perfect for a morning walk. I absolutely love it. And yeah, it's kind of in the pink color. What can I say? So how did I do on cast on number 10, which was the Lumé sweater, I'll put a picture up here, by Sari Norland? Well, I don't want to put this down. I really, really, really don't. And I hope you can see this. This is how far I've gotten. Oh, it is stunning. And I don't know if my camera's picking it up, but can you see the tonal nature of the roasted, dark roast color of the sweet paprika yarn? It literally looks like coffee beans. Oh man, I cannot wait. And look at how nicely the color work is coming out. I did make a last minute change. Couple of last minute changes. First and foremost, I changed my contrast color yarn choice. I had 4 skeins of, I think it's called Gilsk, price tag here. It's made in Ireland. Holy crapacoly. Made in Ireland. How did I not know this? Okay. Oh, this is brilliant. This is brilliant. I have had this Gilsk tweed in my stash. I had 4 of the natural shade T4, which is a natural shade or off-white shade. I have about 10 or 15 of them for the blue, which I wanted to do my crisscross sweater. And I have 4 in a grayish, and they're tweed. And so this is with the sun coming, beaming right in, bad timing with the, I'm trying to stop with the glare too. This is a tweedy, it literally looks like milk with a little bit of coffee splashed in, which I just felt was a better, my other natural is a little too white. It was a little too stark. This has some grooviness going on in it. It's a little bit of very faint tweed in a slight mustard and a slight bluey gray. You probably cannot see it in this light. I do apologize for that. It is a sport weight yarn. It is thick and thin, and I'm holding it double. And that really appealed to me. 1, because I only had 4 skeins of this. 2, my other sweet paprika in the natural colorway was a full sweater's quantity. I didn't really want to break it up and then not be able to use it for a sweater at some point. Just seemed like kind of a waste to me. So there's none of the tweediness. Without my glasses, I can't see this. Maybe you can see it. I don't know that there's any tweedy color coming through there. Can't really see it at this point. But overall, maybe when the motif gets a bit bigger, I'll be able to see some of that. But I do love the rusticness of the thick and thin. Now this is not superwash wool to the best of my knowledge, whereas this is superwash. I don't foresee it being a problem. I think both are going to bloom very, very nicely. So again, just so excited about this. Now look at this little tiny neck. So in the pattern, and again, Linda, I haven't read the pattern to the end. I probably should do that before I even talk to you about this pattern. But it basically starts you casting on. They said use a long tail cast on. I used the, hey, my new favorite, German twisted cast on because I wanted a super stretchy neck. I cast on the smallest size neck because I didn't want it to gape. I want it to be close fitting. And it's super stretchy, not a problem. They say just do the ribbing, knit one, purl one for so many inches, and then knit around and then start your color work. I did that, but rather than just start, I did the full amount that they said. So it was basically, you know, almost 4 inches of ribbing, and I folded it over and knit it together for a folded collar. So interesting, when you look at the pictures, it looks like a folded collar. So I'm guessing that the finishing instructions at the end of the pattern have you do that at the end. I don't know, I haven't looked at it yet. But I did it at the beginning. So there you go. There's my folded collar, which it's the second time I've done a folded collar. The first time I did it was helping my mom with her Monday sweater. And so I learned from doing that. It is very simple to do. You just need to take your time matching up your ribbing. It worked perfectly. It is seamless. The next thing I did is the pattern just says go right into the color work. Well, I just wanted some short rows in the back. So I marked off each shoulder, like basically from the middle of the back, I marked off an even number of stitches to mark sort of where the shoulders would be. And then I ended up knitting part way, doing a German short row, so a German short row, turning it around, and I kept it every 4 stitches. I kept doing a turn, a German short row turn. So I do believe I have 6 short rows that created a little bit of a dip in the back, and I'm hoping that will just prevent it from sticking too tight on my Adam's apple. That's not required in the pattern. There are short rows in the pattern later on. So this is a good and a bad thing. For me, it's good because I like the fit that way. Sometimes pattern writers will put the short rows just before you're splitting for sleeves. And sometimes they will do it at the very bottom of the sweater. So there's 3 places. You either do it at the collar at the back, or just before you split for sleeves, or at the very, before you do the ribbing at the bottom. And I think they achieve 3 different things. This one is definitely to lower the neckline as opposed to make the back longer. This is to lower the front neck so that you don't get the Adam's apple. The one where you are doing it just before you split for sleeves, I think kind of does a little bit of both. It does raise the back a bit, and it also lengthens the back. And then the bottom one is strictly to lengthen the back. So I opted for this version. Now, the downside people will say is, well, then, you know, when you're wearing the sweater, the circular nature of the yoke, will be slightly dipping in the back. I'm willing to do that. That's fine. So far, folded rim and short rows in the back. I ended up casting on for size 5. I don't really know why, but I did. And then when I was doing the color work, my stitch count was right. At least I thought my stitch count was right. But when I was doing my color work, the very first row of color work, I needed to create 2 extra stitches. 2 or 3 extra stitches. I can't remember. I had to create a few extra stitches because my motif ended in the middle somewhere incorrectly. So I don't know how I got that off. So I ended up casting on a size 5, but I have 4 extra stitches. so a size 5 plus 4 extra stitches. So I want to keep with the size 5. So I am just at the point now where I am going to do a 1 round of the dark roast color. And that is an increase round. So I am going to, and the increases come in 2. You're doing a left leaning and a right leaning increase right off the bat. So you knit a few stitches, you do a right leaning increase and a left leaning invisible increase, and then you knit some more stitches and you do it again. I haven't quite figured out how to do that because the instructions in the chart are side by side, so 2 stitches side by side, right leaning increase, left leaning increase. And so I'm trying to figure out, are you doing that on 1 stitch? Are you picking up the bottom leg of the same stitch? So I have to figure out how to do that. Or am I knitting in between? Because when I look at the pattern shows that you're only doing the increases when you're hitting the dark roast color. You're not doing any increases in the cream, which makes sense. But when I look at the chart, it doesn't match up for me. So I'm just having to get that around. There is a video tutorial that I have to take a look at that's in the pattern. So I'm going to take a look at that, and hopefully that will explain when exactly I'm doing the increases, because they're not really making intuitive sense. The how to make a left leaning and right leaning, that's not a problem, but it's that they're side by side. There's not knit one in the middle. It's just they're side by side. So I'm a little confused by that. So that's where I'll leave it for today. That is cast on number 10. Again, I couldn't be more thrilled. I think my choice was good in terms of which option. I still love all the other options. I probably could knit so many other sweaters, but this is how it's turning out thus far. So, ta-da! It is time now for cast on number 11. So here we go. Here's the wheel, and here is spin for day 11. Scrappy DK socks. Whew, yay. A little bit of a breather. So the pattern that I am going to knit is the Summer Lee Designs Fix Giving socks. I purchased these as soon as they came out. This is a fabulous pattern. I highly recommend it because you get 3 patterns in one. You get a vanilla sock, which is just stockinette. You get a ribbed sock, and you also get a sock with a bit of cabling around the cuff, probably about 4 inches. So you get 3 different opportunities or 3 different variations of the same sock. That intrigued me about this pattern. The other thing that intrigued me about this pattern was that she uses what's called a peasant heel. I don't even know what that is. I've never done a peasant heel. So that was going to be a new to me technique. So I'm excited about that. And it's also an opportunity to use leftover yarns. Summer Lee is famous for all of her beautiful marling and striping of colorful socks. And that totally appealed to me because I have a whole bunch of tiny itty bitty bits of yarn. And I didn't know what to do with them. So this sock pattern to me is just about mushing socks together. And in order to use up as much yarn as possible, I'm actually going to hold 3 strands together, not 2. And then, because I'm thinking more of a house sock as opposed to actually a boot sock or just a DK version sock. What I thought would be helpful though is to have one color or one main sock color all the way through if I could. And so I have this beautiful speckled, this is an Over the Moon yarn. They don't dye yarn anymore, which is sad, from Edmonton. an over the moon yarn, and this was called Galaxy, I think, Nebula, I can't remember. Anyway, super fun speckles, and holding that with, I'm probably going to cast on a turquoise and maybe a blue to start. And then as I go down, I'm going to change them out, but this will be the constant throughout both socks. So this is 50 grams. I've split it in two, and then everything else is going to be marling with 2 additional colors, and I'll be switching them out throughout the sock. And I'm going to just try and make them as long as possible. I'm not too sure. These are cuff down socks, they're not toe up, so I do have to be careful that I don't go totally crazy on the length of the leg. But then again, you know what? I could always switch out this to just another color if it's just the toe, because who's going to see the toes except for me, the bottom of the foot except for me. So I'll see how it goes, but I want to use as much of this yarn as I can because I don't want any more leftovers. But that's always a little bit difficult when you're doing cuff down. So those are the yarns I'm going to choose. Because I am going to be holding 3 yarns together, I'm probably going to choose a smaller size sock. Now this sock pattern does come in 4 sizes, small, medium, large, and extra large. So she gives great instructions on which size to choose based on the circumference of the ball of your foot. She gives very clear details on when to start your toe, when to start your heel, all of that. Very clear instructions. I have read the pattern. But this is my first time making these socks, and I'm gonna opt for the ribbed version. The reason being is because I'm using 3 strands instead of 2, I wanna make sure my sock has a little bit of memory and I don't make them overly big. So it's a little bit more forgiving if you've got ribbing all the way through your sock. So that's what I'm gonna cast on, and that is going to be cast on number 11. So I will cast on and hopefully check in with you a little bit later. I love me a good pair of socks. I think, oh, there's just something so calming to me about knitting socks, whether they are fingering weight socks or socks with bobbles or boot socks or house socks. Just, I know what to expect. I love dealing with colorful yarn, and it's just a happy place for me. So this is a perfect palette cleanser in the middle of all the other cast-ons that I've been doing. And there I am so far, so yay me, look at how pretty. I don't know if you can see all the pinks and there's green in there and there's a little bit of red speckle happening. But putting these 3 little yarns together, I don't know if you can see that, and those colors, is just creating such a beautiful color play. And so I'm using 3.5 millimeter needles. I should have said that the pattern is actually 3.25 millimeter needles, but that's because they were only putting 2 fingering yarns together and I'm doing 3. So I went up a needle size and I cast on 52 stitches. And so it's a 2x2 rib, and I'm just gonna knit down. I think I'm gonna do about 15 rows before I change out a color, and just follow along and see how far I get. So that is cast on number 11, and I will check in with you tomorrow for cast on number 12 and show you how far I got on my Thanksgiving Socks by Summer Lee.